Welcome to the player ratings, where I go through and give every Hawker rating from 1 star to 5 stars. There are going to be 23 opinions in this video, and as many of these videos that I do throughout the year, you are not going to agree with all of them. That is okay. You can chuck all of your positives, your negatives, your grievances, all the way that you hate me. I don't mind. Chuck them all down in the comment section below. That's absolutely fine. I've had a second look at the game with a little less emotion in it now that I know the result, of course. And if you still want to check out the emotive side of the reaction, that is still, of course, up on YouTube. You can check that out after this. Click the subscribe button. All of those fun things. Now, I'm going to do this from 5 stars to 1. If you think the other way is going to work better for future videos, you got to let me know as well. Let's get into it. I ended up giving the 5 star to Jack Scrimshaw. I still thought this during the review, and it held up beautifully watching the replay. From the first, I don't know, we can't really call it bounce anymore, but from the first bit of play to the last bit of play, it just seemed like Jack was the most involved. Now, I take these ratings as more of like a MVP style, right? Whilst, yes, you can be the best player on the ground, and that's probably going to give you 5 stars anyway, especially in a loss. I just feel like how much value you gave, and also taking into consideration how long you were able to deliver that value on, is why I went with Scrim. There are going to be some other guys in even the 3 and the 4 star categories that you could argue the peak of their performances were better than what Scrim did. They didn't do it for as long, and on a day where without the footy, the backline and the midfield were goddamn awful, he stood up in a way that I think is worthy of being the BOG and the most valuable player for us in our opening round loss. That might be contentious. Let me know what you think. We have a quartet of 4-star players: Nick Watson, Sam Butler, Jack Ginnivan, and Jack Gunston. I feel like the Gunners one is just really easy to understand. He was our potent goal scorer. How well that's going to age throughout the year, we will find that out together, of course. But he took the absolute piss, whether it was on Jack Buckley throughout the day early on, or whether because he was moved on to Callum Brown later, who might have had him for speed, and he still left him in the dust. Gunners was fantastic. Took advantage of all of his opportunities, of course, bar one, which was arguably the easiest shot that he had all afternoon. Come on, Jack, you're better than that. But overall, he was fantastic. Guinea's work up the ground was really good. The meters gained that he had was really good, a positive. That glove had no ill effect on his performance whatsoever. And geez, he looks strong through the hips, does Guinea. My goodness me. Sam Butler, Alfred kicked a couple of snags and did some nice things without the footy, which is, again, something that I like doing this after having a second look at the game as well, is that you're able to sort of see things throughout that, without the emotional lens, I should say, and just go, okay, so that worked. Maybe that didn't work, but it should have worked because of this. And I think that Butler had more things go well for him in the moment that didn't equate to tangible results on the scoreboard, and I think that bumps up his score for me a little bit. The Wizard was our most dangerous player throughout the majority of the day. I know you're going to go, but what about the bloke that had 5 scoring shots? The Wizard still had 4 and was really clean at centre bounce. I've got a little bit of a problem with the way that centre bounces could work with him in there. That might be my breakdown during the week. We'll see how copywriting goes, because that could be a genuine problem. But overall, these 4 were better than good. They were really good, and that is deserving of 4 stars for me. There's now only a quartet of 3-star players as well. So if you haven't figured out by now that only 8 guys getting a sort of a passing mark, if you will, that's a bit of a problem. But let's go through them. Mitch Lewis, John Newcomb, James Sicily, and Blake Hardwick. Dimmer didn't have to do a whole lot. He wasn't on Toby Green for the entire day, who had coursed and moved up into the stoppage, but defensively still held his own. Did get caught out a couple of times, whereas a guy like Scrim, I don't think did anywhere near as much, but without the footy was good. With the footy was reasonably tidy, didn't have a whole lot of egregious things happen, so do your job in that way, and considering that it was Stringer, Hogan, and Riccardi who ended up kicking 12 goals between them, the Smalls weren't getting as involved. That is a tick from me. James Sicily's second half, he was arguably our best, if not our second best player. In the first half, he was invisible. That knocks you down a peg for mine. Arguably a 5 in the second half, I should say. 1.5 in the first half. It just was nowhere really. The positioning was awful at times. So whilst, yes, game on the line, 35 points down at halftime, you would want your skipper to respond. He did. How much credit I want to give him for that? This is enough for me. From there, Jai Newcombe was our best midfielder, led us for disposals, and just did what Jai does. My God, he needs some help in there. Ugh, ugly. Not the way that you want to start. Again, I will say that the Pies got belted by the Giants a lot worse than what we did last year. And then they beat Port by 90-odd points. So the sky's not falling. We just need, rather than want, a way better performance against the Bombers. But I'll talk more about that in the preview coming on Wednesday night. And now Mitch Lewis. Now, I am a Mitch Lewis guy. And I know that may not be the popular opinion. But he barely lost a one-on-one. Even some, and I would have loved for him to clunk another couple, absolutely. His shots on goal were difficult. I mean, the one he kicked wasn't, but the two he missed were. One of them he missed badly. I understand that. There would be people that are annoyed that he didn't take a drop punt. Instead, he went around the corner from about 35, 40 out. That would be annoying as well. It's no guarantee he would have kicked the drop punt. I don't mind the fact that he did it quickly. The fact that he set up, went through his routine and did it. He looked sure of himself. That's just an execution problem rather than a decision problem, because if he does his full routine, which he did on the other side of the ground when he kicked it out in the full, he still did his full routine there and it didn't work. So I think to go out and just go, well, this is what was wrong with it, I just think is unfair. But his opponent didn't beat him on the day. He moved reasonably well. The delivery was nowhere near as acceptable as what we would become accustomed to, especially coming off last year. It is a pass with room to improve. 3 out of 5. Again, if as a movie experience, a 3 out of 5 is fine. Fine. Could be better, should be better, but fine. And I think he epitomizes that more than the others. These aren't in order, by the way. They're in jumper number order because that's the way that my brain works. So just keep that in mind. Way too many 2-star players here. This is not good. But Connor McDonald, Massimo D'Ambrosio, Lloyd Meek, Mabior Chol, Josh Battle, and Tom Barras. The two key defenders when, again, Stringer, Hogan, and Riccardi kick 12 between them. You don't get a passing mark, even though the pressure up the ground was genuinely abysmal. You still don't get a passing mark. I sympathise. I don't excuse. That's what I'm going with. The two ruckmen, now, of course, Mabior being the part-time one. What was so weird is Mabs had what I would call a Twitter game. If you're wondering what a Twitter game is, that is, well, a couple of your highlights could end up on Twitter, but outside of that, you did nothing else. And that summed up Mabs for me. He kicked these 2 goals reasonably quickly, and the one that he missed, he absolutely should have kicked. Come on, Mabs, you're better than that. But yeah, for 100 out of the 120 minutes of this game, he was invisible. And the 20 minutes that he had were good, helped turn things around in the ruck like he did in the elimination final, but not a whole else. After that, Massimo's ball use would have given him a 1-star, but without the ball, and considering, like I said, the midfield pressure up the ground was horrible, he, of all the midfielders, did the best without the ball. So that knocks him from a 1 to a 2, but am I reasonably close to being like, are we in a position where his position might be in doubt maybe for a week, go have 30 in the VFL? Now, there's another guy who's in the 1-star list that I absolutely think that conversation needs to take place about, but Mass, I think, needs to be better than that. And Connor McDonald was reasonably okay in the second half, and I guess he kind of suffers from the same treatment as Sicily here. He did have 10 touches in the first half. I'm not going to knock him for that. 3 of them were effective. He went at 30% disposal efficiency in the first half. That's not getting the job done. When we don't have Will Day, we don't have Cam McKenzie, you're being thrust into a number 3 midfield role, and as excited as some of us were for that, the efficiency wasn't great in the Bulldogs game, and it wasn't great here. Saved in the end, so I think it ended up being like 65, but again, I'm more worried about what did you do when the game was on the line, and there was an untidiness there that knocks a 3-star performance to a 2-star performance, but that leaves 8 players that are getting 1 star, which in a 4.5 goal loss may seem harsh, but we never really were in the game outside of the first 15 minutes. Who are those 8 1-starers, I hear you ask? Harry Morrison, Jarman Impey, Dylan Moore, Carl Amon, Connor Nash, Finn McGuinness, Josh Weddle, and Josh Ward. If I had like a big whiteboard somewhere here, I would just show it to the camera with just the words of, did you play That was kind of the vibe that I got. Now, that seems harsh, and I understand that that seems harsh, and all of these blokes have the right to tell me to get stuffed because footy is a lot easier when you're watching it from home than playing. I completely agree with that. For the seniority of a few of the guys that are in here, so Harry Morrison, 2017 was your debut, mate. We are 10 years in now, and it was 17 disposals of, to be perfectly honest with you, Jarman and Carla way better than what they did on the day. And again, there were times where they got involved in some chains, but again, game on the line, you weren't really anywhere. Finn not tagging made no sense at the time, and I don't need to go over it again. Josh Waters, the number 2 midfielder, had 5 disposals in the first half. He ended on 18. Clap, clap. Awesome. But the same way that I've gone, Josh Weddle, he didn't do anything when the game was on the line. That is going to knock you if we lose. If you're quiet in the first half, you have a good second half and we win the game, you probably get a little bit more of a boost, right? You get maybe a winning, like a stimulus package of winning. That's probably a horrible turn of phrase, but it's early in the morning and I know what I mean. Fingers crossed you do as well. I'm doing a deep dive on Daz Talks Footy around the role of guys like Connor Nash because I think they're dying and they're already dead because of the new rules. Maybe that's an overreaction. We shall see. And I am the CEO of the Dylan Moore fan club, but you need to be objective here. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that we send Dill to the VFL so we can have 30-3. I was saying it to good friend of the channel, Smid, last night, that there is a Marnus Labuschagne vibe to Dylan Moore right now. A glue guy. Everyone in the tent loves him. And right now he is polarising a lot of Hawthorn fans. And of course, Marnus is for Australian fans because the results aren't really matching what we're being told happens off the field. And as great as Dill is, and I love him to death, and I've met him before, and he is an absolutely ripping bloke, I just think it might be better for his confidence to have 30-3 in a VFL game to kind of go, all right, breathe. We can get back to this. Marnus went and hit 4 Sheffield Shield tons. He didn't have a great Ashes series, as we know, but the logic there was sound, and I think doing the same for Dill might be the way to go because we love him, and if you'll allow me the shitty pun here, he has to deliver more than that. He just does. Overall, guys, we can now put this game behind us. The Essendon preview will be up on Wednesday evening. I'm going to be doing some tinkerings with the structure of that because I wasn't 100% happy with how the Giants one turned out, but that is more of a me problem, and fingers crossed you enjoy. If after you've watched this, you wanted my more extended thoughts on other aspects of the game, the review is already up, as we know. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Let's go get the Bombers. See you later.